I wasn't supposed to fall for her. She was supposed to fix me. When Dr. Lorna Hayes first leaned back in that chair, legs crossed, glasses halfway down her nose, I thought she looked too calm for someone trying to sort out my chaos. Her office smelled faintly like rain on books, that dry paper scent that follows people who read more than they sleep. The clock ticked too loudly. I hated silence, but she seemed to live in it. "This isn't working," she said one Thursday, closing her notebook after what felt like the 100th session. "You keep talking around what matters." I shrugged. "Maybe I don't know what matters." Her lips twitched, not a smile exactly, but close enough that I felt it like a pulse. "Then maybe we stop talking." That's how it started, when my therapist said talk therapy wasn't working. She suggested something experiential, something outside the office. I didn't know what that meant, but the next week I was standing in her kitchen, the kind of place that looked lived in but not messy. Mismatched mugs. A plant that was dying but still green at the edges. She handed me coffee like it was a peace offering. "No notebook today?" I asked. She shook her head. "No therapy today." Her hair was loose this time, a few strands falling across her face as she leaned over the counter. It wasn't professional, it was real. And that was the problem. I kept finding excuses to look anywhere but at her. The rim of her mug. The chipped tile. The way sunlight hit the silver in her hair. She noticed. I know she did. "You always do that," she said softly. "Do what?" "Pretend you're not looking." The air tightened between us. She didn't move closer, but she didn't step back either. The hum of her refrigerator filled the space where either of us could have said something else. That first afternoon blurred into others. She'd asked me to join her on walks. "It helps some people think better," she said. I told myself I was just another patient on a strange kind of treatment plan, but my body disagreed every time our hands brushed accidentally, every time she asked a question she didn't write down. One evening, near the end of summer, we sat outside a coffee shop long after it closed. She was quiet, watching the streetlights flicker on. I wanted to tell her she looked softer in the dark, less like a therapist, and more like someone I'd want to know without all the rules. Instead, I said, "You ever get tired of being the one who listens?" She turned to me then, really turned, eyes tired, kind, and somewhere between lonely and careful. "You have no idea." The silence that followed didn't feel awkward. It felt like the truth sitting between us, waiting to be acknowledged. I could hear my heart in my throat. She looked away first, but not before I caught the smallest shake in her hands as she reached for her cup. When I walked her to her car, she lingered before unlocking the door. The air smelled like rain again. Her voice was low when she said, "This is a boundary, you know." I nodded. "Yeah." But neither of us moved. The engine clicked as she turned the key halfway. She looked at me, a look that wasn't supposed to happen, and for a second, the rules we'd been living by just thinned out. Then her phone buzzed in the cup holder. One text. One word. "Stop." Her breath caught. Mine did too. And just like that, everything between us shifted, from quiet to dangerous, from therapy to something we couldn't name. The text "stop" came from her ex-husband. I found that out a week later, when I shouldn't have. She'd forgotten her phone on the kitchen counter after one of our non-sessions. It buzzed once, the name lighting up the screen before I could look away. Mark Hayes. The way she froze when she came back into the room said everything she didn't. "You saw it," she murmured. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She sighed, sat down across from me. "He still thinks he gets to have an opinion. We were married for 18 years. Old habits." Her fingers played with the edge of her sleeve, twisting it like it might unravel something bigger. "You still talk to him?" I asked. "Only when I have to. He doesn't like how I spend my time now." "With me?" She didn't answer that, and the silence filled in the rest. Before her, I'd been in 2 relationships. One ended because she wanted someone more ambitious, the other because she said I was emotionally unavailable. I didn't even know what that meant until Lorna started asking the kinds of questions that made me look at myself from the outside. My mother used to say I was an old soul, her polite way of saying I acted like someone waiting for a life that hadn't started yet. Maybe that's what drew me to Lorna. She'd already lived it. She carried that quiet confidence of someone who'd been through storms and didn't need to prove it. Her house showed it too, walls the color of warm sand, a single framed photo of her at the beach with a teenage girl. Her daughter. "She's in college now," she said once, noticing me staring at it. "Same age as you." The sentence hit heavier than she meant it to. "Do you ever miss it?" I asked. "What?" "Having someone waiting for you to come home." Her eyes softened, then closed for a moment, like she was holding back something that didn't belong in the room. "More than I should." It got harder after that to pretend this was still therapy. Our meetings stretched longer. She'd offer wine instead of tea. I'd stay until the shadows deepened around us, the conversation bending toward things that weren't mine to know, what she read before bed, how quiet the house got at night, how she hated the echo of her own footsteps down the hall. Once, when she reached across the table to pour me another glass, her hand brushed mine. It wasn't accidental. Or maybe it was, but neither of us pulled away. I remember her thumb pausing against my wrist, a slow press that felt like a question she couldn't ask aloud. "Lorna," I said, her name almost foreign on my tongue. She looked up, eyes wet but steady. "You should go before I forget why this is wrong." I didn't move. Neither did she. The air thickened, her breath close, the sound of rain against the window. And for one suspended second, it felt like we were standing at the edge of something that had already started, no matter how hard we pretended otherwise. When I finally left, my hand still tingled where she touched it. That night, she texted me. "You left your notebook here." I hadn't. The text about the forgotten notebook wasn't about the notebook. I knew it, and so did she. When I came by to get it, the air between us had changed, quieter, heavier, like a room that knew too much. She tied her hair back again, like she was trying to look composed, but the loose strands and the faint circles under her eyes gave her away. "It's on the table," she said. I nodded, stepped inside, but neither of us moved toward it. "Lorna," I started. "Don't," she said quickly, voice low. "Not tonight." But her hands were trembling again, not fear, just the kind of tension that comes when something has been held in too long. She poured us both coffee she didn't drink. I pretended not to notice her watching me over the rim of her mug. The silence stretched so thin I could hear the hum of the light above us, the sound of her breathing. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked suddenly. "Regret what?" "Becoming a therapist." She blinked. "You mean helping people?" I shrugged. "You help everyone but yourself." Her jaw tightened. "That's not your place to say." "I know," I said quietly. But I said it anyway. That made her look at me, really look. The kind of look that strips away everything polite or professional. For a second, I thought she was going to tell me to leave. Instead, she said something else entirely. "You remind me of him." "Your ex?" "No." She hesitated. "The first person I ever broke." The words hung there, strange and intimate. Before I could ask, a knock rattled the door. She froze. "Expecting someone?" She shook her head. Her hand brushed mine when she reached for the door handle, just a flicker, but enough to make my pulse kick. It was her daughter. "Mom?" The girl's voice came through before the door fully opened. "You weren't answering my texts?" Panic flashed in Lorna's eyes. She turned to me, mouthed "Stay quiet," then cracked the door open just enough. "I was on a call." she said. Everything okay? Yeah, just. I thought maybe you were with. Her daughter peered past her shoulder. Who's here? Lorna hesitated half a beat too long. I could feel the blood roaring in my ears. Just a client, she said finally, too fast. Her daughter frowned. At 10 at night? Lorna forced a smile. He's leaving. I grabbed the notebook from the table, heart pounding. Good night, I managed, though my throat was dry. Her daughter watched me walk down the steps, suspicion written across her face. I didn't look back until I reached my car. Lorna was standing in the doorway, one hand on the frame, the other at her chest like she was holding something in place. Our eyes met, hers full of apology, mine full of something I couldn't name anymore. Then she shut the door softly, like ending a prayer. That night, I dreamed of her voice saying my name, and when I woke, it took me a moment to realize it hadn't been a dream at all. There was a voicemail waiting. Her voice, quiet, shaking. We need to talk, before this goes any further. The voicemail looped in my head all night. We need to talk, before this goes any further. By morning, I'd already decided I was going to her. I didn't care if it was reckless, if it crossed lines that should have stayed sharp and unblurred. I needed to see her face when she said the words she'd been running from. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised. More like she'd been expecting me, or dreading it. Her hair was uncombed, her sweatshirt rumpled. There were 2 coffee mugs on the counter. One untouched. You shouldn't be here, she said. Then tell me to go. She didn't. I stepped inside. The clock on the wall ticked once, twice. Every second felt like it was counting down to something neither of us could stop. Your daughter saw me, I said quietly. Her breath caught. I know. She asked questions I couldn't answer. Then don't lie, I said. Tell her the truth. The truth? Her voice broke on the word. What is the truth, exactly? That I crossed a line I swore I never would? That I... She stopped, pressing her palms against her eyes. God, I can't even say it. I took a step closer. Then I'll say it for you. Don't. Lorna. She spun toward me, anger flickering like static. You think this is easy for me? You think I don't replay every second after you leave? You're half my age, you're... Her voice faltered. I'm what? I said, almost whispering. You're young. You still believe in fixing people. You still think love can heal things it can't even reach. Then what is this? I asked. Because it doesn't feel like therapy anymore. She laughed, small, bitter. You don't understand what you're asking for. Then explain it. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her hands were shaking. I've spent years, she said finally, learning how to listen without wanting. How to care without crossing over. But with you, her voice cracked. The sound hit somewhere deep. With me, what? She exhaled, a trembling sound that wasn't quite a sob. You make me feel seen in a way I shouldn't need anymore. The room went still. She turned away, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I moved closer, not touching, just standing behind her. Close enough to feel the warmth coming off her skin. You think I don't feel that too? I whispered. Her reflection caught mine in the window, both of us standing there, suspended in the half-light. Don't, she said again, but this time it wasn't a warning. It was a plea. And maybe I would have stopped, if not for the sound that broke the silence next. A car door slamming outside. Her daughter's voice. Mom? Lorna froze. I could see her heartbeat in her throat. She turned to me, wide-eyed, breath unsteady. This can't happen, she whispered. But her hand was still on mine. And neither of us let go. Her daughter's voice carried through the door again, closer this time. Mom, I know you're home. The car's out front. Lorna's hand slipped from mine like it burned. You need to go, she whispered. I hesitated. She'll see me. She already has. Just please go out the back. I didn't argue. Not because I agreed, but because I could see her coming apart, jaw tight, shoulders trembling under the weight of all the pretending. I turned toward the back hallway, heart hammering, when I saw something that stopped me cold. A second mug. The same one from earlier, but this time, it wasn't coffee. Whiskey. 2 glasses. One half empty. You had someone here, I said before I could stop myself. She froze. Don't do this. Who was it? An old colleague. That's all. The lie came too easily. I'd learned her voice by now, the way it faltered when she told the truth, and the way it went perfectly steady when she didn't. Does your daughter know? Her eyes flashed sharp now. You're out of line. So it's true, I said quietly. Before she could respond, the front door opened. Her daughter stepped in, holding grocery bags, talking like she was trying to fill the silence. I texted, but then she saw me. The sound of the paper bags hitting the floor was louder than it should have been. What are you doing here? She asked, voice tight. I was just leaving, I said. Her eyes darted between us, reading more than either of us could hide. You're his therapist. Emma. Lorna started, voice breaking. Oh my God, Emma said, laughing without humor. This is actually happening. Emma, please, does Dad know? The name landed like a blow. Mark Hayes. The ex. The text that said stop. Suddenly I understood. The whiskey. The voicemail. The fear in her voice that night. He wasn't her ex. Not anymore. I took a step back, dizzy with it. You're still married. Her silence confirmed it. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, she said finally. I laughed, short, breathless. You didn't mean for me to find out you have a husband? It's complicated. Emma looked at her mother, disgust flickering in her eyes. You think? Lorna turned to me, desperate now. It's over between us, him and me, but I couldn't file. Not yet. He's sick. I shook my head. Don't. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Everything you said, I whispered. All those nights you looked at me like I was real, she said softly. You are real. Not to you, I said. Not if I'm just the part you can't say out loud. For a long moment, none of us moved. The clock ticked again, counting the seconds before the inevitable. Then Emma said quietly, Dad called me last night. He said he knows. Lorna's face went pale. And just like that, whatever fragile world we'd been building cracked, wide open. Lorna didn't move for a long time after Emma said it. Dad knows. She just stood there, one hand gripping the back of a chair, her face draining of color. Emma, she said finally, her voice barely holding steady. Go upstairs. Please. Are you kidding me? Emma's voice cracked. You've been lying to everyone. I'll explain, Lorna said, but the words were thin, shaking. Not now. Emma looked at me, disgust and pity colliding in her eyes. You're just as bad, she whispered. You knew. I didn't, I said, but the defense sounded hollow even to me. Maybe I had known, not in words, but in the way she avoided certain questions, the way she shut down when I said her name. When Emma slammed the door to her room, the house went painfully quiet. Lorna finally exhaled. He's dying, she said. Mark. Liver failure. He's in hospice. I couldn't just leave him like that. Her voice wavered, and I hated how much I still cared, even as every word cut deeper. So I was what? I asked. A distraction from watching him fade? Her eyes met mine. No. You were the only thing that made me feel alive while watching him fade. I wanted to be angry, to say something sharp enough to break whatever spell she'd wrapped me in, but all I could do was look at her, this woman who had been both the storm and the shelter. Then say it, I said quietly. Say what this was. She stepped closer, slow, like approaching something fragile. It was wrong, she said. But it was real. The space between us closed, one heartbeat, too. Her hand came up, trembling, fingers brushing the side of my face like a confession she couldn't speak. I thought I could control it, she whispered. I thought if I kept it quiet, it wouldn't hurt anyone. It hurt anyway, I said. Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. I know. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of everything we couldn't fix, of every word we'd used to build something that couldn't exist. Then I said, You don't get to save me and break me in the same breath. She flinched, and for a moment she looked her age, all the walls gone, all the pretense stripped away. I never wanted to break you, she said. You were the only one who ever saw me without asking for something in return. I nodded, swallowing the ache that rose in my throat. And that's why I have to go before I start asking. We stood there, the weight of everything unsaid pressing between us. Her eyes searched mine, as if she was memorizing me in pieces, the way I'd remember her. When I finally turned to leave, she caught my wrist just once. Will you hate me? She asked. I shook my head. No. But I might not forgive you either. Outside, the night was cold, the sky half-lit with rain clouds. I stood there for a second, waiting for her to stop me again. She didn't. Behind me, I heard the soft sound of the door closing, not a slam, just a quiet ending that felt like mercy and punishment at once. I walked away, heart still echoing her touch. And for the first time, I understood what she'd meant by talk therapy isn't working. Some things can't be talked out. They can only be lived through.